For March 23rd, Polk County Commissioners Court. At this time, we will ask for Sheriff Byron Lyons to lead us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, we come before you thanking you, Lord, for this day. Ask, Lord, that you would guide us as we move forward in making the decisions for this county and those who reside within. We ask, Lord, that you would heal our land, Lord. We ask that you would have a special touch for those who are yet suffering, Father, over the COVID. Ask, Lord, that you would be our men and women, Lord, who are serving overseas on our behalf. Lord, we be ever so mindful. Give your name the praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Sheriff. Okay, item number 2 on the agenda, public comments. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak?
No one signed up.
Very well. Item number 3, information report. Couple of things. One, the spotlight on Polk County was on grants and contracts, so everybody needs to take a look at it and review the information. Also, Jessica Hutchins did a follow-up email to all of the departments so that they understand exactly what her role and responsibilities are, so that they understand that she's not writing the grant for the department. She has no way of having that knowledge or information, but she is maintaining the records and making sure that we follow the guidelines. One quick note in terms of budget, the capital outlay for this budget year, the closing of the reimbursement resolution is in May, so anybody that still has capital outlay projects that were approved need to go ahead and get them done, because we're going to close out the reimbursement resolution. Okay, and now we will receive our yearly audit.
Fantastic. Well, it's an honor to be here this evening. I'm Robert Belt. With me is Darla Deere, the project manager, and she's typically the one doing the presentation here lately, so it's nice for me to be able to come back and do the presentation. So this has been a rough year for everybody, and the last person you want to see in a disaster type situation is your auditor. So I want to thank all the county officials that have cooperated with us so carefully during this audit process, and so it was a very smooth audit process. So we have a number of documents before you today. The first is this brown document. This is what we call the single audit report. Anytime a government receives over $750,000 in federal funds, you have to conduct what we call a single audit. So we come out and we do an audit in accordance with all the federal government's guidelines of your major programs. And so that audit report is presented here, and I'll just quickly summarize with you. There's 2 opinion letters with it, and both of those are what we call a clean opinion. There's no unfavorable items in there. We'll talk about one item in just a minute on the management letter, but other than that, it's a what we call a clean report. The next item, at the very back of your big bound document, there's 2 loose letters laid in the back, okay? And I'll just quickly walk you through those. Again, one of them is called the required auditor disclosure letter. That's where we talk about the audit process itself. You know, did we feel like our independence was maintained as your auditors? Do we have any disagreements with management over accounting principles or internal controls or anything else? And this is a boilerplate language letter. There's nothing in there that was unusual about the county's audit, and so very, very smooth in that respect. The next item, there is a separate letter. It's called a management letter. The management letter is where we talk about weaknesses within the county's internal controls, and we identify things as being a significant deficiency, and then if a significant deficiency could have a material impact on the county's financial statements, we classify that as a material weakness. So that we did have one material weakness. As you know, reconciliation of bank accounts is a key control of the county, and there was a significant difference on the pooled consolidated cash account that was unreconciled. We are hopeful or believe that was likely a computer type system of not knowing how to fully work the system, but we did note that difference did exist when we came out and did the audit, so we're reporting that as a material weakness. Moving on to the big bound financial statements, again, tremendous amount of information here. Just also like to note that the prior year report received the GFOA Certificate of Achievement and Award in Excellence in Financial Reporting. So again, congratulations to Lewis and his staff and the county for your achieving that goal, and we believe that this report will also achieve that goal. Our opinion letter is presented in the very front of the report. Very pleased to announce it's an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance we can provide the court that all the disclosures required by generally accepted accounting principles have been included and the financial statements are materially correct. Again, there's a tremendous amount of financial data in here. I'm just going to point out a few highlights to you. If you're only going to look at one page in the whole document, page 40 and 41 would be the page I would direct your attention to. This presents an overall view of what took place in Polk County for the year. As you know, your general fund is your primary operating fund. It's presented in the far left-hand column. Revenues came in, and this is where I have to pull out my glasses because eyesight's going on me. Revenues for the year came in at $24,706,000. Expenditures came in at $24,077,000. There were other financing sources uses of $653,100. And that gave you a net change in fund balance of $1,282,000 for the year. You began the year with a fund balance of approximately $13 million, and you ended the year with a fund balance of approximately $14.2 million. As you well know, the primary indicator of financial health within any governmental entity is your fund balance, and your financial advisors and bond rating agencies will look at your fund balance as a percentage of your operating budget, and they would ideally like you to have 60 to 90 days of fund balance on hand to cover your operations. And so right now, the county is in really good shape. You're well over 6 months, and so that's a great position to be at. A number of years have been working with the county, and there were many years where the county was really struggling with that fund balance number, and so it's a delight to come back and to see that this number is so healthy. So that's excellent news to report to you. Next item to present is over on page 78 and 79. This is the budget to actual presentation for your general fund. There was a positive budget variance on revenues of some $2.4 million, which is excellent news to receive, particularly in a COVID-19 year when there was so much uncertainty as to how this year was going to turn out. There was a positive budget variance on expenditures of $1.7 million. And so that gave you a total positive budget variance for the year of $4.1 million for the year. Again, those are excellent budget variances to have. One final item to point out to you is over on page 112 and 113, as primarily this is where your road and bridge precincts operations are presented out in individual funds, so you can see the results of those operations individually. But all the funds are reporting strong fund balances at year end. That concludes my report, and very happy to entertain any questions the court may have. Darla, was there anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, I think you got it.
Okay.
If you have any questions that should arise later, then certainly you can send them to Darla and she can respond. Since the presentation of the information needs to happen in public. Just so you know, you're not going to be as happy next year because we're taking some of that money out of fund balance so we can fix the courthouse.
Okay. As long as it's going for good use.
No, we're just accepting it. Yes, we're just accepting it. No motion to approve. Okay, if anyone has any questions, then certainly feel free to contact Darla, or you can send questions to Lewis or Carrie, and we will forward them to her if you cannot answer the questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you all like
Thank
to
you.
exit so we can allow other people to come in shortly? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Darla.
Okay, item number 4, old business. This was tabled from February 23rd, 2021 meeting. Discuss and consider rate increase for surface lease agreements expiring June 30th, 2021 for Polk County school land in Throckmorton and Baylor counties. This item was tabled from that meeting, and to give the court some time to gather more information and evaluate. And so Commissioner Robertson provided some recommendations, and they are included in your packet for your review. It looks like the main change would be to add a rate for the hunting lease rates.
That's correct.
On a note, she included on here that consideration for surface leases. At one time, there was some discussion of solar panel farms. There was also some discussion of wind exploration, and this has been, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And if you will recall, I met with the superintendents and asked them if this was something that they wanted the court to research or consider, and they said they were not interested at that time, and so we left it at that. That's just more of an information item for everybody.
Are we on the Portwood, which one is the discrepancy on the river?
That's Portwood.
Portwood, that's what I thought it
Portwood,
was. I was trying to find it in here. I had
It'll
it
be page 2.
on page 2.
Right then. That's where.
But I've done a little studying
Okay.
on this too. And we charge them $10 an acre for their graze. Okay? On good ground out there, where you sprayed the mesquite, you've done everything, you can run 18 to 22. You can run a cow per 18 to 22 acres. Okay? Some parts of this lease that we have, he said he couldn't run a cow to 150 acres. He said on average, you probably figure 28 acres to the cow. So he's paying $280 an animal unit today for the problem, for his grazing lease. Around here, say it leases from $12 to $15 an acre on pasture, and you get people run five, say 5 acres to the cow. That's $75 per animal unit. I mean, I know we want to make all we can for the kids, but we've got to be, we've got to look at this thing from different angles too. So I mean, this guy, if you figure that, he's paying 3.5 times the grazing rate, which they don't have quite the input that we do here either. I mean, I understand all that, but I want everybody to think about the whole, and what I gather they're getting, and y'all might have more information than I do. I mean, this is just what I found out. Is right in that area, they're getting around $8 an acre for the hunt.
They're getting $3.50 on quail hunting, then deer hunting. So that's parts that's not telling everybody. I've done some research too.
That's what I'm saying. That's the reason I want to talk
what
about
I'm saying.
it.
There's different,
Yeah.
and
I want us all to talk about it.
They're not so much a per acre. They're package hunters up there.
They're doing it per gun.
They're doing it more package hunt. You come up there and you're gonna pay $37.50 to harvest a doe, a buck and 2 does.
Okay.
They're not leasing it out like we do around here. You got a hunt pasture.
Yeah.
It's day hunt type situation or package hunts. What the people I've talked to that hunt up there in that area, do a little research.
How long do they
Yeah.
give them to do that?
Huh?
On a package hunt, how long do they get to do?
It's like
Weekend, 3
a
days.
week, 3 days. And then sure enough, trophy hunting, that's a whole different deal. But I know the quail, if there's quail up there, if they have a good year, it's $3.50 an acre for the quail hunt.
Yeah.
On top of the deer hunt, so.
But that's why I went with the, I looked at the $5 per acre, felt like that'd be fair to, because it covers all different types of hunts. Turkey and quail and deer.
If they're if they're having to pay $280 a unit up there, they're not in the business they're not making any money off their cattle anyway, would you think? Because they're not able to run enough cattle on 11,000 acres to pay for anything.
Yeah,
The way that place is split up is what I'm saying. If one person had the whole place, you could understand that, but it's split up so much. And if they figuring $280 a unit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how they
I don't
figure it. I mean,
know how they
like I say, they don't have as
done
much input up there
Yeah, I
as
know
we
they
do,
don't.
you know, I don't think.
The ground.
I've never run a calc there, so I
It's
don't
really,
know.
a lot of it's per section rather than,
Yeah.
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 Now, another consideration that Mr. Cooper had requested that would allow for better improvements, or for the landowner to provide better improvements, would be to go, one of his requests was, instead of having a 5-year with a 5-year renewal, to go to a 10-year with a 10-year renewal. You would still have an escape clause if the court decided to move forward in terms of wind or solar. But that's also a consideration, because there is an investment in maintaining,
Yeah.
taking the mesquite and the prickly pear off of the property,
Yeah.
which leads to better productivity of that property.
Yeah.
So that might be one of the areas of compromise with the landowners.
Yeah, we could do $5 for the hunting and give them a 10-year lease.
Mhm. Yeah,
They're-
that's a,
they're
that's an
making that-
option.
They're making that hunting money right now, have been.
For a while.
Yeah.
Give them more incentive to clear off more land too.
Yeah, and that is what Mr. Cooper in his letter, I think all of y'all received a copy of the
Yeah.
letter, right? That was one of the things that Mr. Cooper said, was that then that would allow for them to get better return on investment. Because obviously it's the landowners that have done a good job of maintaining the property that are making more money because of their investment.
And there is the solar and the wind that it's getting closer, and that's why, you know, at one point I think I had somebody that was gonna try to be here and then was not able to, so that's
Well,
what.
there's not a clause in this contract that says that we have to ask them to lease it for that anyway, is it?
For what now?
For the solar, I guess it would, but for the wind, I mean, the wind don't affect their
No,
grazing.
the wind wouldn't affect them at all.
No.
So the wind would just be an additional. And actually, when I spoke to some of those leaseholders, they said that they were hoping that wind and solar, especially wind, would get closer to them so that they could put wind turbines on their property. You know, so they're not opposed to the wind at all.
Solar's gonna affect the grazing, and I wouldn't wanna invest a bunch of money in a place to clean it up. They come in there and put solar panels on it, and that kills your grazing.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so these.
Somebody's gonna have to be reimbursed for what they put into that land. If you give them a 10-year lease, and 5 years from now, solar comes in and wants to lease that whole thing, who's gonna reimburse them people? for
Someone's
their-
gonna have to reimburse them.
Reimburse
their
them for what their
expenditures.
input on that land.
Yeah.
So my point is that they are not opposed, especially to the solar, because then that would give them an opportunity on
To
their
wind,
land.
you mean.
The
For
wind,
solar,
to
for
wind.
wind, excuse me,
Yeah.
for wind development.
Yeah.
I think as long as we reserve the right to explore it, I mean, that
Yeah.
gives everybody.
Oh, well, and that's a given.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that my numbers are for this particular piece of property either.
Yeah.
That's just general area.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are, I mean, obviously.
Thinking we need to go down on grazing?
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, I mean, and I don't know what how they're making money off this, and then that's, but we getting all the good out of the grazing.
That's
what I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they can't.
And they've been paying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's something working for them.
Yeah, but they've been supplementing with the hunting. What I'm saying is they've been having to supplement the grazing with the hunt.
They've been supplementing the grazing with the hunting for 20 years.
But they have to. I mean, paying this
Yeah.
price for the grazing, they have to.
Yeah, but that's if you cut it in half, that's $5 grazing and $5 hunting, and there ain't no way they're getting hunting rates for $5 up there.
Okay, so what if instead of that, because we know that the numbers for the cultivation, the grazing, that was done on a range and a median. It was not an average, okay? So we know that those are reasonably accurate. Those are the numbers that we came up with before. So we know that those are reasonably accurate. So the issue then becomes, what do you think would be a fair rate for the hunting lease rate? regardless of whether or not they're cultivation or grazing.
Uh,
Well, if
we could go, can I throw this out there?
Yes.
Whatever, yeah, I mean, I'm
That's-
I'm
Okay,
just,
why don't we look at this way? We could go $3 on a 5-year lease.
on hunting
On hunting?
If they wanna do a 10-year lease, go $5
and leave grazing alone.
and leave it alone.
Leave everything
That's
else
good.
alone.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If they want a five-year lease, $3, and a 10-year lease, $5. That way, we don't have to mess with this adjustment for the next 10 years.
yeah.
Or if they think that's too high, they can go with 3 and 5, and then we get $2 next time.
Yeah, I mean, that's good with
Yeah,
me, I
that's-
just,
That's a doable.
yeah, I'm just
I
trying.
think that would be doable for them.
I'm just struggling with my mind, if I was up there trying to lease it without, trying to pay that much for.
Yeah, but you
to run
wouldn't,
cattle.
Yeah.
you wouldn't have stayed there, Milt, paying
Yeah.
$280 a head on cattle
I know,
per unit price.
yeah.
So
That's-
there's something else going on there.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we know that,
Absolutely.
but, I'm just,
Yeah,
But that'll work,
They may be
though.
retaining ownership of a lot of that stuff.
Give them opportunity,
Running it off
they can either go
pasture.
5 or, but we need to do it with all the leasees, not,
Yeah,
not
every one
just
of them.
one.
It's always-
it's
across the
all
board.
or nothing,
yeah,
you know.
across the board.
Okay, so $3 for 5 years, $5 for 10 years for the
Depending
that
on which way
license.
they wanna go.
Leave everything else the
And
same.
they all have to agree.
And they all have to agree, we're not gonna pick one, or we're
Yeah.
not gonna,
That way we're not cherry picking.
Yeah,
if they want it for 10 years, they're gonna pay $5 on the hunt.
yeah, they want it for 5, like I say, 5 years, now they know we're gonna go up, so.
Yep,
Okay,
that gives them
so-
opportunity to improve.
So does that lock them in at $5 an acre
For
for
the-
the 10 years?
For the 10
Yes.
years.
So when they get to the back end of that deal, they're probably gonna be having a real good value.
Well,
That gives them a little
that's-
meat on the bone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that ought to be pretty fair, I mean, because they're gonna be paying in reality, 16 and a quarter an acre
Yeah.
for the grazing and hunting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Bringing that as a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll second it.
Okay, Commissioner Overstreet's motion is that the land leases remain as they are with an additional hunting lease rate of $3 an acre for 5-year or $5 for 10 years, and it's all or nothing. So all of the landowners, seconded by Commissioner Robertson. Any further discussion or questions?
So I guess the extension agent will get
No,
with
we'll
them on that.
contact him.
We'll do it.
He only acts on our behalf when we ask him to go review the property.
Okay.
So we will contact him and let them know. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, new
And I guess that
business.
including we keep the option to explore
Yes, sir.
surface leases.
Yes, sir.
Oh, one thing back up. Do we need an emotion to let Mr. Portwood sign this lease, or is this included in this motion? We didn't discuss that.
Okay, back up to Mr. Harley Portwood.
Yeah.
Everybody's leases are set to expire on July 1st, 2022. And so he wants to review the contracted surveyor's findings, and we need to make sure we review what GLO has, because, for one, there's some questions about what he's saying in terms of the river creek actually moving as much
Yeah.
as he claims it has. And so we're gonna have to make sure that we review what he has. So for now, if the court is willing, we could create, but it's gonna depend on what the other ones decide, right? If they decide to go with a 10-year lease, then technically he would get a 1-year and then a 9-year
Right.
to catch him up with everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
great.
but
Yeah.
he's got, he's got a discrepancy, I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
No, we don't either.
Let him
And
work it
so,
out.
so.
And he's paying for the survey, right?
and-
Yes, that's what it
yes,
said, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's paying for that. So give him the flexibility, I guess I'm saying,
Yeah.
regardless of whether it's
To
4
work through
years or
that.
9 years, depending on what the group decides. That make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okey-doke. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 5, new business, the consent agenda. All of them are included in your packet. Item B, you have addendums on B. and the amount of $108,088.37. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anybody wishes to pull?
I guess the first time since I've been here, we only had one addendum for that.
Just one addendum?
Yep.
Motion to approve.
We're working on it. Commissioner Vincent,
Second.
motion to approve. Second, Commissioner Overstreet. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 6, consider approval of personnel matters as follows. Review and consideration of personnel action form requests submitted since the last meeting and review of any authorized emergency hiring. We had one emergency hire, and that was in Road and Bridge Precinct 1. All the preliminary listing of the PFs have been submitted and are in your packet. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Commissioner Purvis, second Commissioner Robertson. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, consider requests for revisions and amendments to the budget as follows. The FY 2021 budget revisions 2021-07 and amendments 2021-07A as presented by the County Auditor's Office. Again, the copy of all those revisions and amendments was included in your packet.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Overstreet.
Second.
Do I have a second, Commissioner Vincent? Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, consider request for capital purchases to be paid from the fund balance and included on the 2021 reimbursement resolution for year-end issuance of legally authorized debt as follows. Environmental enforcement request for 8 terabyte remote storage not to exceed $800. This item was included in the FY 2021 budget request of the Environmental Enforcement and Fire Marshal Office and was listed as and was approved on the capital purchase projections.
So moved.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Purvis.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Overstreet. Any further discussion or questions?
What fund will it be paid
What's that?
for? What fund will it be paid for? General.
General fund. Yeah, it'll be taken out of general fund. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, consider order authorizing the sale of fireworks during the San Jacinto Day period of April 16, 2021 through midnight, April 21st, 2021. A copy of the proposed order and TAC correspondence regarding the permitting of fireworks during San Jacinto Day period is included for your review. And we also have the fire marshal. Would you please step up?
We're scheduled to get some rain in the next couple of weeks, so we should be good to go. We were pretty dry, but we're starting to get decent rain, so
Okay,
we should be good.
and the Forest Service, he has started communicating with the Forest Service now to make sure that.
Yeah, we were on the same page to not allow it a couple of days ago, but with the rain, and then we've looked at the weather since then, and it's supposed to continue to a
Sounds
little bit
good.
of rain, so should be good.
Can I have a motion? I need a motion for the order.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Overstreet, second Commissioner Vincent. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, consider any and all necessary action regarding bid number 2021-14, replacement of 6 culverts and head walls in Road and Bridge Precinct 3 to be funded by Road and Bridge Precinct 3.
Well,
Okay.
James Riley was the low bid.
James
But I
Riley?
don't, I ain't made my mind up yet whether I'm gonna do them all or not.
Huh?
Yeah, they are.
So James Riley was the recommended.
He's the low bid, yes, ma'am.
Okay, that comes as a motion from Commissioner Purvis, second Commissioner Overstreet. Any further discussion or questions?
Did you say you might not let him do all of them? 'Cause it's
Yeah, I
not-
might not. I ain't made my mind if I won't spend that much all at one time or not.
Oh, okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, consider any and all necessary action regarding bid number 2021-15, county requesting bids for renovation of the regional health building. The bids were opened in the auditor's office on March 18. 3 bids included for your review. And the bidders were Chief Long King Resources, GAM Construction, and JR Services. Go ahead, Jay.
Recommendation, especially on the time frame, MJR Services.
How y'all gonna do that building?
Basically, where the Man Eye Center was, we've got to take several walls out in that area and open them up for Commissioner's Court to be in there. The judge's office will be in a section, and then the county clerk will be in the front section up there with the plats and all from downstairs.
How come we can't use one of those courtrooms over there?
Because they're gonna be really full now. After the COVID, they are going to have to catch up. We can't.
And if we need paperwork, then she gotta jump her car and run over here and get something. Or go back over there and get it.
Jay, are you following the same footprint, the drawing that you gave us before?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, pretty much. Yes, sir.
Part of it is that throughout the years with Man Eye Center, everything is little cubby holes. They're all little examination rooms. And so there's no way, I mean, you can't even get a desk in some of them.
Yeah.
And so we just have to open it up. And if we're already gonna open it up, well, then we might as well create the space that we need. One is making sure that Shalana's staff has enough room to move around and for the public to come in.
So what about once we're through with that building and the court comes back, all the offices come back over here?
Well, that'll be y'all's decision to make, but it will be set up to accommodate
A lot of
another
different
department within the county if we decide to do that,
Okay.
as in a courtroom. Big advantage to us in the county itself is recently we had correspondence with the state about the sprinkler system that is in the building that doesn't have to be in the building, and we are required to take it out, so there's not a false sense of security in the building now. So we're going to have to take that whole thing out. The good thing about this is in this section, it's going to be cut at the wall, and the contractor's going to be responsible for moving that, because you got to figure we got to drain them, and every pipe coming down has got to be individually drained to take that out. So it's helping us on that end too. There is an advantage to using the building or this section afterwards if the court so decides. I've had interest from other departments that could use it.
How would it be set up if the court decided when we get through with it to try to move the property or sell it?
It'd be set up as in a big meeting area with the same thing, with a few small offices and 2 meeting areas actually, if that's, if that was the case.
The sprinkler system and all that?
The sprinkler system doesn't, we've got to remove it through the whole building, not just this one area.
Why?
Yes,
Why?
because it's not required in there anymore. The piping in there is out of date, and like I say, right now, I mean, I haven't come to the court to ask for any money to do it. Right now, our department plans on trying to remove it if we can. And like I say, you may have a 8-foot drop coming down that's full of water that's above somebody's desk that we have to get in there and figure out how to get that out and all. In this section, like I say, it's going to be removed by the contractors. That was in this bid.
Now's the time to do it.
Now's the time to do it if we're going to do it, because like I say, essentially you'll have a 2-inch pipe coming through the wall, and then it branches off, and they're just going to be responsible to cut it there, cap it, which in the long run helps us because it's going to drain the whole system out when they do that.
Could somebody
So-
come back and tie onto it and run a system throughout the building?
Well, if they did, they'd have to bring it up to code, and that's the problem. We don't want to bring it up to code because it's not required. Our fire marshal here, the city fire marshal, has both sent letters to the state fire marshal, and the state fire marshal says, no, that's not needed. We can take it out. So the main thing I was referring to that is the contractor's going to take this part of it out, which in turn will save our department quite a bit. We did receive the 3 bids. Talked to a couple other contractors that did come out and bid on it, and they were kind of consistent with some of these bids too, but they just, one of them actually, his GPS took him to the wrong place, and he was 2 minutes late on bid opening. So, but anyways, MJR will finish it in 58 days. I met with all the contractors. They all seem pretty knowledgeable in the construction field and all, and checked the references and all, and everything seems good to go, and that will get us plenty of time to still move the judge's office and everything once it's complete, before we hit the deadline of the 6 months we had to get out of the building.
When will it start?
Start as soon as the contract's awarded, is what it says in here, 58 days from then. Few other minor expenses that are going to come up that we just can't foresee right now. We do know to move the phones and the network and all over, there's going to be about $5,600, but we have security cameras and the panic buttons will be moved. At that total, we shouldn't have any real expenses over $10,000 on anything additional that's unforeseen right now as far as moving panic buttons, things like that. We just won't know until we actually get in there and do the construction, see what's there available and what's not, and can we get a camera outside of a wall, signage. If I've spoke briefly with the judge's office, do we want to even mark it as Commissioner's courtroom, and to what extent that it can be taken down later and things like that. So.
Yes, we do not wish to do anything permanent to the building, you know, that later we don't want there, or that would change the viability of that building in terms of another department utilizing it or selling the structure, you know, whatever the court decides to do.
My plan on that is I've got on the roof and the signs that the doctor had up there, says optical whatever on it for them, Man-Eye Center. My plan would be to take those down and use the same, you know, bracket and reinforcement, whatever. If we did that on aluminum signs that we can make in our office, and in turn turn around and take them back down if we can. We're actually working on, you know, prepping the awning for pressure washing and cleaning and painting and all that at this time.
Parking lot's good.
Parking lot, we're going to have to restripe, but we didn't want to do that until we find out about this, because part of it is they are going to take out the ramp. I don't know if y'all have been over there, but the ramp was poured over concrete. It wasn't poured thick enough, and it's crumbled to a point that they're going to cut all that out now and redo it completely instead of just patching over it and make it all handicap accessible. There's no handicap accessible parking spots. It's off by ½ inch, but the state says you have to do it. So we have to cut out a section. That's one of our biggest expenses. We have to cut out a section, make a handicap accessible from the parking to the sidewalk and then inside the building, and that's that'll all be done. So in the long run, yes, it would be to our advantage for whether we leased it or used it for a county office later.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Overstreet, second. Commissioner Robertson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
MJR Services. That was correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
MJR. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's let the next round come in. Mm-hmm. Morning.
Morning, Darrell.
Morning.
How's everybody?
Good, George.
Fine. Morning.
George,
Morning. Okay, item number 12, consider approval of plat of Brushy Creek Ranches subdivision located in precinct 2.
Motion to approve the final plat.
Second.
Thank goodness. Okay, Commissioner Vincent, do I have a second?
Got him.
Milk.
Well,
Either one.
All of us did.
okay, I'll go with Commissioner Overstreet, that's the one I heard first. Okay, any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 13, consider approval of plat of Falcone Forest, Section 2 subdivision located in Precinct 4. The list of items was included for your review, but I believe that at this time, everything looks good. Commissioner Overstreet?
Motion to approve pending, do you know if they made it with the Mylars
I
yet?
haven't seen them yet, so the correct mylars.
Yeah, they have some corrected Mylars, but I want to go ahead and make motion to approve. Water situation's all good, everything's good, so
I'll second.
Motion.
Okay, so motion to approve pending the final Mylars that must follow TxDOT's recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay.
They should.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Overstreet, second by Commissioner Robertson. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 14, consider approval of wireless telecom proposal from Verizon for wireless voice data services and equipment for the Judicial Center and the tax office. We had selected CoNexus for the voice over internet protocol. And at that time, we had also received a proposal from Verizon, but the court chose to go with Verizon. They have been unable to make the phone system work correctly over there. And so the VoIP system has simply not been working. So at this time, which is also the same system that LivCom had offered at one time. So what we've decided is we've notified them, and we have a proposal from Verizon, which is included for your review. So we're making the recommendation to change. We also verified with legal counsel, just as an update, that we did not need to re-advertise the request for proposals per section 262.027 of the local government code, that if after the award the successful bidder fails to qualify for the required bonds or unable to meet the requirements, then you can go with another one. And at that time, we left it open. The court actually said, okay, we're going to try the CoNexus. If that does not work, we're going to keep Verizon as an option.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Overstreet. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Robertson. Any opposed? All in favor say aye. Motion carries. Item number 15, consider approval of lease agreement between Polk County and Polk County Commerce Center for the purpose of housing elections equipment during the courthouse restoration project. Basically, what legal counsel has recommended is that we do an MOU at this time, and what they have offered us is that it will be $1,000 a month, plus an additional $100 for the change that will occur in the utilities. And this is for Shalana's equipment, because it must be maintained at 65 degrees and it must have internet access 24/7 for any updates that might occur with the equipment. Is there anything you want to add to that, Madam Clerk? That was one of the equipment is stored here, and so this will allow us to have a building where we know they will continue to maintain it. Part of the reason we had it in this building was because we wanted to make sure somebody was always around in case there was a problem.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Purvis, second Commissioner Vincent. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 16, schedule a special meeting of Commissioners Court to receive recommendation from the Rating Committee and select an engineer for the FY 2021 Texas Department of Agriculture Community Development Block Grant, the CDBG. So on January 26th, the court authorized a request for qualification for engineering services for CDBG, and Commissioner Vincent and Purvis and Jessica Hutchins with grants and contracts reviewed and ranked the submissions that we received. So we need to go ahead and schedule a special meeting, preferably on Monday, March 29th or Tuesday, March 30th, to receive the recommendations from this committee.
Either one, I won't be here either day.
Either day you want.
No, I'm with Jay shooting in San Antonio.
That's okay, we'll nominate you to be on the next committee.
No, I'm already on this one. But no, I won't be able to be here those days, but I need to take care of
Okay.
Good.
Anybody else have a problem with those dates?
Whatever works for you.
Because it has, the deadline is a May 3rd deadline. So for us to meet all the requirements,
What
You gonna
time?
be here then, honey?
I can't be. What time? Early? Like 7?
I would say, well, we normally meet at 9 or 10 o'clock. 7?
9?
Yeah.
9 o'clock next Monday.
9 o'clock. Next Monday? That work?
Yes, ma'am.
Very well. 9 o'clock next Monday. Right here in Commissioners Court.
Okay.
Thank you, man. Take care of that.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 17, discuss and consider approval of resolutions pertaining to the 87th Texas Legislative Session. I'm not going to read through all of them. You have a copy of all the resolutions in there. A was support of local decision-making in opposition to revenue caps. If they move forward with limiting local decision-making, then basically all of our organizations would not be able to contact our legislators and voice our opinion. So that would include every elected official, every elected office. So we're not supporting that. We would like to move in opposition of that. Indigent healthcare. Part of what happened with indigent healthcare is at one time the state paid a larger percentage than they do, and they have slowly but surely dwindled on the percentage that they pay, and so now the majority of that burden is carried by the taxpayers, by your local taxpayers. And then C was state funds for indigent criminal defense. The same thing has occurred. At one time, the state of Texas paid for the majority of the indigent defense, and now that amount has dwindled and dwindled and dwindled, and I think they started out like in the 80-90%. Now we're down to about 10 or 12%. So the remainder of that burden is carried by the taxpayers, by our local taxpayers. And then the last one is juvenile probation funding. Juvenile probation is the responsibility of the state of Texas. They are a state agency, but the state has not provided sufficient funding, and so again, now our local taxpayers are funding up to approximately 75% of the cost of juvenile probation. So we would like a motion to approve moving forward with those resolutions.
So moved.
Commissioner Purvis,
I'll second.
Commissioner Robertson. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 18. Receive request from Justice Court judges to be released from the agreement with Tyler Technologies for Odyssey Judicial Software and consider any and all necessary action. If I could, I'd like to make a recommendation to the court that we allow the JPs to go ahead and exit from the Tyler Technologies contract at this time, so that we can allow the other departments to move forward without interruption and continue the rollover. We all know that the other departments do not have any other option. So that would allow the JPs to find other options that would then make those other departments whole. That would allow the other departments also to go ahead and become knowledgeable in terms of what they need, but the eventual goal would be for the judicial system to become totally paperless. So if we could go ahead and allow them out,
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Purvis and Commissioner Vincent. Okay, allow them out, but let me finish saying this so that everybody understands each other. First of all, when we first did this, it was because we knew that the other departments, that the other elected officials could not operate with the current system that we had. They could not, okay? So it was determined by those departments, because I certainly didn't go visit anybody, but by those departments what the best thing would be for everybody. So it will now fall to the JPs to find a software system, to double entry, to do whatever it needs to do, whatever you need to do, that is going to make those other departments whole.
Are we gonna get a chance to say our piece, or we just?
No ma'am, no ma'am, y'all said your piece before. I do want to say thank you to Tyler Technologies,
Yes.
because they have been very flexible and they did agree to allow this. The other thing that Tyler Technologies has done is they have agreed that they're not going to eliminate all the work that has been done and leave it there. So you have the option, but you need to come to this court within 6 months and tell us what the solution is going to be that is not going to create a burden on IT, on the district clerk, the county clerk, the district attorney's office, the county court at law, and the 2 district judges.
I'll be more than happy to put that in writing for you.
That would be great.
Okay.
And so, but
We
let's
also-
take some time, for you all to review what your protocol is gonna look like. okay? Give some time for these other departments to decide how they are going to operate, okay? And then, so let's take 5 or 6 months for y'all to look at what other options. I know that at one time you looked at Hunt County, and they had some software that at one time y'all had considered or were interested in. That's way back in the recesses of my mind. Way before Judge Johnson came on board, actually the only judge that was there at the time was Judge Longino. So look at what your options are, but the other departments must be made whole in some form or fashion.
That's fine. We also gave Carrie last Tuesday a 5-year guaranteed contract with net data.
Well, and that is only up to the court to consider.
That's correct.
That is up to the court to consider, and so we will look at that. But first, you're going to have to provide us with a solution. At this time, net data is complete, is whole. They were in the consent agenda. Okay? But first, you're going to have to provide us with how that's going to make the other departments whole.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank y'all.
Have a good one. Okay, Commissioner Overstreet.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn. Second, Commissioner Purvis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. What time is it, Madam Clerk?
10:50.
Pretty good today, Judge. That's a long agenda. I mean, get us out 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sure figured you was gonna drag it out longer.